Welcome back to Tales by WZ. Today's story is about a husband who heard his wife defend cheating so passionately that he realized she was protecting her own secret. As you listen, think about the moment you would have stopped arguing and started protecting yourself. My wife said, "Women have needs." I replied, "Interesting philosophy." Then I hired a PI, filed for divorce, dropped the proof at her parents' dinner, and watched her try to play victim, grab half my future, and take my vintage motorcycle. I'm 36 and I've been married to my wife for 8 years. For most of that time, things were solid. We had routines, shared friends, and a life that felt steady. Nothing was perfect, but I thought we were on the same team. Then, about 6 months ago, my wife's best friend started having an affair. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't gossip. Her friend was sleeping with a coworker while still married. Eventually, the husband found out, lost it, and the divorce started rolling. That part was sadly predictable. What wasn't predictable was my wife's reaction. From the moment the affair came out, my wife defended her friend like it was her job. She didn't say, "Yeah, that was wrong." She didn't say, "I feel bad for her husband." She kept framing it like the husband was the problem for being upset. At first I told myself she was just being loyal to her friend. Some people defend their friends even when they should not. But after a while, it started to feel too personal. Last Tuesday we were eating dinner at home. It was a normal weeknight. We had salads, the TV on low, and the kind of quiet that usually feels peaceful. My wife brought up her friend again, like she always did. "Her husband is being such a baby about this," she said, stabbing at her salad. I looked at her and said, "She made one mistake." My wife's eyes snapped up. "Exactly," I said, "one mistake that lasted 6 months." She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "You don't understand. She was lonely. He works all the time. She has needs." I put my fork down. "So cheating is justified if you're lonely." My wife leaned forward, voice sharper. "I'm saying women have emotional and physical needs. If men can't meet those needs, they shouldn't be surprised when women look elsewhere." That sentence hit me like a cold splash of water, not because it was loud, but because it was confident, like she'd rehearsed it. This was the first red flag I should have taken seriously. "People don't defend betrayal this hard unless something in it feels familiar," I said. "That's insane. If you're unhappy, you communicate, you work on it, you don't cheat." She scoffed. "That's such typical male thinking. Women are complex. We need attention, affection, passion." I said, "Then you end the relationship first. You don't cheat." She snapped back, "God, you're so judgmental." This is why she didn't tell her husband she was unhappy. Men make everything about their egos instead of trying to understand. The passion in her voice was strange. It wasn't just empathy. It was defense. Like she was arguing for herself, not her friend. I stared at her and asked, "You really think cheating is acceptable?" She didn't hesitate. "I think people make mistakes. I think marriages are complicated. I think men need to accept that women have needs and stop acting like victims." Something clicked in my head, and suddenly a bunch of small things lined up. The late nights at book club. The new gym membership she barely talked about. The phone that suddenly came into the bathroom with her, the way she tilted the screen away without thinking. In that moment, I didn't feel rage first. I felt clarity. I smiled, kept my voice calm, and said, "Interesting philosophy." She looked satisfied, like she'd won. Then she went back to her salad. I excused myself, went to my home office, and made a call. I'd been putting it off because I didn't want to become the paranoid husband, but her speech made the decision simple. If she believed that strongly in affairs being justified, I needed to know whether she was living by that rule. I hired a private investigator. He told me he could start Monday. 2 weeks later, the PI needed 6 days. 6 days to confirm what my gut already knew. My wife wasn't at book club. She was at a condo with her personal trainer, a 28-year-old guy from her gym. 3 times a week, for 4 months. The PI gave me photos, timestamps, and even video of them kissing in a parking garage. I sat in my office and looked at the evidence. I expected to feel devastated. Instead, I felt vindicated, and then I felt angry in a quiet way that made me careful. At this point, what would you have done? Confronted her that night or taken a breath and planned your next step? I did not confront her right away. I called a divorce lawyer first, a top-rated one. Expensive, worth it. I explained the situation. He listened, then said something simple. This is useful. It's a no-fault state, so don't expect miracles, but her credibility is shot. We filed. It cost me $450 to start the process. Meanwhile, my wife kept defending her friend loudly, like nothing was happening in our home. A few days later, we were at her parents' house for dinner. Her friend's divorce came up again, because of course it did. My wife started the same speech. I just think he's being unreasonable. She apologized. She wants to work on things, but he's too stubborn. Her dad shook his head. Cheating is a deal breaker. You break that trust, it's done. My wife waved him off. That's so old-fashioned. People make mistakes. Women have needs. I cut in calmly. Women have needs and men should just accept it. My wife glared at me because she knew I was using her words. Her dad looked confused. Her mom looked uncomfortable. I said, interesting. Then I pulled out my phone and opened a folder. I showed her dad the first photo. My wife and her trainer kissing against his car. Her dad's face went red. Her mom made a sound like she couldn't breathe for a second. My wife lunged forward. What is that? I swiped to the next photo, then the next, her entering his building, different dates, different times. A pattern that didn't leave room for excuses. I said, proof that you practice what you preach. 4 months of practicing, actually. She reached for my phone. I pulled it back. I said, I have copies, I have more, a lot more. Her mom looked like she might cry. Her dad just stared at my wife like he was seeing her for the first time. My wife tried to stammer. This is out of context, I asked. What context makes 4 months of cheating okay? What context makes kissing your trainer in parking garages acceptable? Then I pulled an envelope from my jacket and set it on the table. I said, but don't worry. I took your advice, I accepted it. Those are divorce papers. I stood up. Thanks for dinner, see you in court. Then I walked out. I drove home and went straight to the garage. I needed something to do with my hands, something real. For the last 3 years, I'd been restoring a 1972 motorcycle. Every spare weekend, every extra dollar, every part I hunted down, it went into that bike. It was nearly done. It was my piece. About 2 hours later, my wife came home. She burst into the garage, eyes wet, voice sharp. We need to talk. I didn't look up. I kept working, adjusting the carburetor like it was the only thing in the room. I said, my lawyer says all communication goes through him now. You can't just divorce me. Already filed, I said. You'll be served Monday. This is insane, you're overreacting. I kept working. You said men should accept it. I accepted it by leaving. She switched to minimizing. I made a mistake for 4 months, it didn't mean anything. I said, then you won't mind the divorce. Then she tried tears, the softer voice. Please, I love you, we can work through this. I looked at her for the first time and said, like your friend wanted to work through it with her husband. Oh, wait. You said he was being a baby about it. She went quiet. I said, get out of the garage, this is my space. She left and slammed the door. I heard her on the phone right away, probably calling her friend or her mom or both. I went back to the bike. I also had a feeling the motorcycle would become an issue. 3 weeks later, her counter-filing showed up. She wanted the house we bought during the marriage. It was worth about $420,000, with $190,000 owed. She wanted her car, a 2021 SUV with payments in both names. She wanted half my $401k, half my pension, spousal support for 3 years, and my motorcycle. The motorcycle part actually made me laugh. She'd never cared about it. She called it my midlife crisis project. Now she suddenly had emotional attachment to it. My lawyer said, she can ask for anything, doesn't mean she'll get it. The bike is tricky because restoration happened during the marriage, but we'll fight. Her lawyer sent a list of my so-called failings. Worked too much. I work 40 hours a week, didn't prioritize her emotional needs. Translation, I didn't read her mind, spent too much time on hobbies. The motorcycle made her feel neglected, so she cheated. My lawyer sent back the PI report. Every photo, every timestamp, the video, plus the details of her speech to her parents about women's needs and men accepting affairs. Her lawyer got quiet after that, but my wife escalated anyway. She started calling my family, saying I was controlling and emotionally abusive. She said hiring a PI was stalking. She tried it with mutual friends too. She posted vague things online about learning who your real friends are and surviving emotional abuse. Half our friends believed her without asking. Half asked me what really happened. I kept it simple. She cheated for 4 months. I have proof. I filed for divorce. She's playing victim. I lost some friends. I kept the ones that mattered. Then she tried a really dirty move. 2 weeks after being served, she filed for a restraining order. She claimed I was unstable and that she feared for her safety. The reasons were almost embarrassing. Me being in my own garage when she came home. Me not arguing when she tried to start a fight. Me leaving her parents' house instead of fighting in front of them. The hearing was quick. The judge read her petition, then read my lawyer's response with the PI evidence. The judge asked her, "Do you have any evidence of threats or violence?" She said, "He's been cold and distant." The judge said, "That's not threatening. That's someone processing a divorce. Do you have evidence of actual threats?" She didn't. The request was denied. Her lawyer looked embarrassed. My lawyer looked calm, like he expected it. Outside the courthouse, she tried to approach me, but my lawyer stepped between us. "All communication through counsel," my wife yelled. "This is ridiculous. I made a mistake. I apologized." I looked at her and said, "You made a choice. 4 months of choices. Live with it." Then her best friend, the one whose affair started all this, showed up and started screaming in the parking lot about how I was destroying my wife over one mistake and how women have needs. Security escorted them away. It was almost funny if it hadn't cost me so much. 4 months later, the divorce was finalized. Here's how it ended. The house, she got it. I moved out 2 months earlier. She had to refinance to remove my name and pay me $95,000 for my equity within 6 months. If she can't, the house gets sold and we split the proceeds. Her car, she kept it and took over the payments. I had to be removed from the loan within 60 days, or it would be repossessed and sold. The 401k and pension, she got 30% of what was earned during the marriage, not half like she demanded. Even in a no-fault state, the judge noted that the adultery and the lies affected her credibility. Spousal support was $850 a month for 18 months, less than half what she asked for. The judge pointed out she was employed and capable of supporting herself. Then came the motorcycle. She pushed hard for it. Her lawyer argued it was marital property. My lawyer came prepared. Receipts for parts, photos of the early build, documentation showing I bought the frame and engine 2 months before we married. The restoration happened during marriage, but the project started before. The judge ruled the motorcycle stays with me. He said she showed no interest in it until the divorce proceedings. He wasn't impressed by sudden emotional attachment. When the judge said that, my wife's face told me everything. Total cost to me was real. Equity in the house that was less than it should have been. Spousal support, part of my retirement contributions. Legal fees. I didn't walk away untouched, but I walked away. Her situation now, from what I've heard, is messy. She's struggling with the mortgage. The trainer stopped talking to her when the divorce went public. Being the other guy is exciting until it becomes paperwork. Her best friend finished her own divorce too, and it didn't go well for her. My wife's dad is not speaking to her. Her mom calls sometimes, but their relationship is strained. Parents don't love it when you cheat, then try to paint yourself as a victim. Me, I'm okay. Not amazing, not broken, just okay. I finished the motorcycle and took it for a long ride last weekend. It was the first real ride since all of this started, and it felt like a deep breath. I moved into a smaller apartment. It's mine. It's quiet. No one telling me my hobbies are the reason they cheated. No one defending affairs over dinner. No one trying to make me feel crazy for having basic standards. Dating at 36 is strange, but I'm not rushing. I started seeing someone new. She thinks the bike is cool. She asks questions about it. She doesn't call it a midlife crisis project. That's refreshing. My ex still tries to text from unknown numbers sometimes, usually about money or the house, sometimes with apologies that feel more like frustration than regret. I don't respond. My lawyer handles the real stuff. Her last text a few days ago said she hoped I was happy, that I got everything I wanted, and that it must have been worth destroying our marriage. I didn't respond, but the truth is simple. She destroyed the marriage. I just documented it and left. Divorce is expensive emotionally, even when you're right, even when you have proof. It costs sleep, peace of mind, and trust in people, but staying would have cost more. Here are the lessons I'm taking with me. Lesson 1: when someone defends betrayal like it's normal, pay attention. They may be telling you what they believe and what they've already done. Lesson 2: if your gut keeps whispering that something is off, don't smother it with hope. Quiet patterns matter more than loud promises. Lesson 3: document the truth and stay calm. Drama makes you look unstable even when you're the one who was wronged. Lesson 4: a boundary is not cruelty. Expecting faithfulness is not too much. Leaving after betrayal is not overreacting. Lesson 5: some things are worth fighting for and some things are worth walking away from. Knowing the difference protects your future. What would you have done the moment your partner said out loud that cheating is something men should just accept? And if you were in my place, would you have confronted it immediately? Or would you have gathered proof first and let the truth speak for itself?